Hello everyone, I hope you're well and you've had a really good week. I'm in a car park actually, but it's a disguised car park. And it's also an aviary. Can you hear all those birds? So yes, I have been pondering this week those two questions. What's stopping me from putting myself first? And I want to slightly rephrase this question based on my incredible healer, Gwen Hoostwick. The other question is, where is my self-love? So I'll get to those points in a minute. And what I just want to give language to is I've decided I'm going to do 6 videos, so 6 weeks focusing purely on the HSP side, and then 6 weeks on the HSS side, and I'm just going to see what emerges. And it's a really interesting exercise because to be honest, the HSS has always predominated, and I think that's a cultural thing. We get more positively there's more positive feedback by demonstrating the HSS behaviour. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what emerges. And so yeah, so I thought I felt into this question, and what's stopping me from putting myself first. And so these are normally in stressful situations, right? It's not an everyday thing. Although I have to say, obviously I'm English, so the idea of putting yourself first, it's sort of a bit of a no-no, isn't it, if anyone's English who's listening, watching. But just kind of holding that as one variable. What's stopping me from putting myself first? Well, taking a stressful situation, for example, I either go into freeze mode and mute, or I put the other person first to placate them to placate and to placate them. And essentially what it's doing is it's creating a safe environment for me, which I'm thinking about. It sounds quite selfish. Maybe I am putting myself first. That's essentially what I'm doing. I grew up in a volatile environment, and so I have been programmed when things get out of hand or there's an explosion of any description. It is the body's response just to completely freeze, and that preserves, enhances my chances of safety. So yeah, actually I am putting myself first, but it's just a question now of rewiring my neural pathways and my nervous system. And what I'm working on at the moment is, because I go into this freeze mode, and of course, the HSP, young HSP me is petrified. She's absolutely petrified. I'm learning to just even articulate what I'm feeling in my body, because I mentioned in a previous video that I have experienced a lot of numbness in my body. So it's now a question of just, I can feel all this stuff happening in my body, and now I'm getting to the point where I can articulate it, and I don't care if it sounds ridiculous. It's just giving language to actually what's happening in my physiology, and then that can start some kind of communication, as opposed to me. I can't count the amount of times that I feel so stuck here, and so it bridges this gap between the muteness and the freezing and that the whole feeling in the body. So that's what I'm going to continue working on, bridging that gap. And I just want to really acknowledge my incredible healer Gwen Hoostwick, who gave us as a group this question. So I just want to acknowledge her for that. And it's where is my self-love? And I actually acknowledge that it's infinite. You know, it's there's a part of me that acknowledges that this self-love is infinite. And that part that acknowledges that is my wise HSP part. And that question alone has just instigated this, what has previously been a non-relationship with my HSP wise self. And I had an experience on Wednesday, which I'll talk about, but it's essentially, she's this incredibly wise woman who has this huge capacity, infinite capacity to hold love and receive love and give love to me and to my little HSP and to other people. And it's infinite. It's got that, and that's my HSP wise woman. And she's absolutely freaking awesome. I've always kind of brushed it off, you know. I've just thought, oh, whatever, HSP, what, boring. But it's having this opportunity to really focus in on these two aspects individually, and their own journey. It's just the start. So I had a friend over on Wednesday, and we both fancy each other, and it's not going to work out, and I put a stop to it, and yet my HSS, like my young HSS, took over basically, and mounted him. I'm joking. No, I'm joking. What did I do? Anyway, it happened. So and it's all fine. And this is when my HSP wise self started to kick in, because she was able to capacitate the HSS young self, because she, I allowed the teenager, and I don't know who I is anymore, so I need to work this out. Say I, because we're not all just HSS and HSP, we do have a personality. So anyway, the HSP wise woman is allowing me to hold this HSS, who is, she's young, and she's not got a lot of experience, and she's ready to do crazy stuff. And now that this numbness is kind of turning into some kind of feelings, she wants to get up to stuff. But it's the wise HSP that's kind of holding this space for her so that she can actually calm down. So I just love the fact that the HSP wise part of me is able to really nurture both the HSP and the HSS. So I'm really digging this HSP woman. I just feel expanded just even connecting to her now. It's this beautiful sensitivity and this depth and this wisdom. It's really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. Yeah. Never really didn't even give myself time to experience that. So my I'm not going to call them assignments. I'm learning German at the moment. I've got homework coming out of my ears. So I'm going to play with the questions of how can I connect more with this wise HSP, and what happens when I do? How can I connect with how can I connect the wise HSP to the young HSP? And what effect does it have on my well-being? So yeah, those are the inquiries that I'm going to have this week. And yeah, again, I invite you to come on this journey with me and see what emerges. And yeah, awesome. Have a beautiful week, and yeah, I'll see you very soon.